Hello, everybody. So this is quite interesting, right? In 2021, the United Nations and a bunch of countries actually met. Okay, that's a very weird statement, but yeah, the United Nations met, and inside that meeting, they decided to sign a pact to protect the rights of the citizens on the internet. But guess what? A bunch of African countries signed that pact, but broke that promise. Nigeria in 2021 decided to ban Twitter, and a lot of African countries, Sudan, for instance, have shut down the internet several times. Now, what am I trying to say is African governments say one thing, but then go on to do something entirely different. So if you find that citizens find it difficult to trust, the government, these are the issues we're talking about. So Nigeria today this is the first podcast in the era of a new dispensation, a new President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Yeah, it's quite interesting that the very, very first thing we have to be dealing with is subsidy removal. And Chingozere and Bolu, we've been talking about this before we started this podcast. Subsidy is that is the promise of subsidy removal. Subsidy is supposed to release money, just block pockets of corruption in Nigeria's petroleum industry.
It's not doing that.
No, nothing has happened yet. So the idea is, okay, they're removing subsidy, right?
Okay.
That promise of subsidy removal, that is my concern. Because at the end of the day, I was talking with my friend this morning, like, see, is it that if you don't agree to this subsidy removal, you are not smart? Because for me, I know, yes, subsidy removal is supposed to bring a lot of benefits to the country, but
so I mean, if it was a phased removal, maybe gradually, it would have been a better option. But what the experts
just ripping off the band-aid.
Exactly. I mean, some people claim that is it. Of course, a lot has been said about the style of communication. I basically threw everybody into a frenzy. But what the experts claim is that it was necessary. But like you said, or like we were saying before we started recording, it's one thing to say you're removing subsidy, but as you have come to know in Nigeria, what is said is not always what happens. So we can't always know that. I mean, yes, there was an announcement that there will be no subsidy, which, to be fair, it's not a policy that he came up with on his own. Buhari or the former president had already told us that this was going to happen. I think it was supposed to take effect in June. So it's not like it was solely his doing. So it was something that was already in the works. But, I mean, well, I guess we just have to watch and see.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think it's a very big issue, right? The whole issue of subsidy, right? So the idea is some people are benefiting from this.
Yeah.
They are collecting the subsidy money and funneling fuel outside the country. So fuel is scarce in Nigeria, subsidy or no subsidy, right? But my concern is, okay, now that you've freed this money, is there any measure of accountability to show that, okay, this is what you use the money for? Because in Nigeria, people like me and you, they come to harass us if we don't pay our taxes. But is there any measure to harass the government if they don't do what they're supposed to do with the taxes? That's my only concern. But not my only concern. How is it going to affect? So we're a tech publication, so let's come on
how it affects us.
How it affects us, right? So I'm thinking two things: productivity and ride-hailing and logistics. So things that directly
is that even the only thing? You know, in Nigeria, when the price of dollar increases, even the pepper seller tells you that
dollar
is costing dollars. So I'm wondering, how far would my fintech app start charging me more? They'll tell you that there's no fuel.
No.
And there's justification if they do that.
Let's know what they're saying.
It can be justified.
You would justify increasing.
So tech points can increase price of brand price.
Yes,
because
you can.
of fuel.
Yes.
It doesn't directly affect our business, does it? It does.
It does.
Power costs.
Because the cost of power.
Yes, cost of power,
costs.
cost of transportation.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you have workers that have
Event
to
coverage
transport
definitely has to
themselves.
get more expensive.
Oh, event coverage, yes,
yes.
Uber. Oh my God,
So
Uber to and fro.
it will affect everything, and I think there's going to be a short-term inflation spike
Mm.
Are
because
you sure it's going to be short term?
It's
I
going to
mean,
be long
if
term.
if they do this right,
Mm.
it should be short-term.
So this
they
is
do
the thing.
right.
These policies are good policies, right? Even if you look at some of the policies that CBN governor introduced during the last term, on paper they're actually good policies. But this is Nigeria.
Implementation
Implementation is
is actually
just-
where policy, like, implementation is actually easy for you to gather a group of really smart individuals and come up with a document, but the document is as useless as anything until you actually implement it. And Nigerians frequently say this, that we don't have a lack of laws, we just have an absence of what do you call it now, implementation. So
So
that's where the
what we
cocoa
have
is.
now is a bunch of strategists,
Yes.
but no executors.
Basically, McKinsey guys who have never gotten their hands dirty or who will not execute.
Don't let that. That's a big
Okay,
big five consulting, please, please.
Man,
So
no dey.
now it's Bolu. You've been doing some research. Has ride-hailing prices increased during this time?
Yes, they have, but not for the not directly because fuel prices have increased. It has increased, so it's not like both saw that in Nigeria fuel is now 500 naira per liter. Let's increase prices. What actually happened when I spoke to a couple of drivers is that this is what happens. This is what actually happened. So there was fuel scarcity, I think, when they first announced the subsidy removal
Monday,
thing.
Tuesday,
Yes.
Wednesday.
So a lot of cars were either not moving or they were on fuel queues. So once this happens, right, both and ride-hailing platforms, what they do is, you guys are not driving. Why are you guys not driving? So what they do is they implement something called a surge, right? So it's a way to like encourage drivers to go out. So when you see that, normally when you take Beggar to Ikeja, say it's 1.5, and then Boats has implemented a surge. The surge is usually from 1.1 to 1.9. So there's this 1.5 surge, and then Beggar to Ikeja that is usually 1.5 has now gone to like 3K. Drivers will be like, let me go and make some cool money. So I have to less trips, more money. So drivers go out and then they bring the surge back down. So that's the reason why. So can we say it's because of the fuel scarcity? So it's because it's caused by the fuel scarcity. Drivers are not going out because of the fuel scarcity. They are not going out because fuel is now more expensive, right? And then for that reason, both increased prices, right? So it's not because. But I asked the drivers, will these platforms eventually increase prices? And they said yes, because I said, is it something that will just come up, or you people have to protest and cry and shout? And they're like, no, they don't have to do all that, because I think they've done that in the past, and I think those guys listen faster now. They have people on ground and they said when prices increase, they usually get an email to let them know, okay, per minute we have increased to 5 naira, 6 naira. So we'll know. So that's what's happening right now. It's not. I saw a lot of people online on Twitter saying, "Hey, they've increased." It's the surge right now. So they've not increased
officially.
prices,
So
officially,
if they increase officially, we will know.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
know.
Okay, we will see something. We'll jump to. Okay, so
You
what of
definitely
logistics
know.
services? So I'm hearing that they are going to increase their prices, but is there an interesting way? I think logistics services might find a way to manage it better than the ride-hailing guys.
Yes. So I spoke to one person who said, yes, she runs a business that kind of depends on the logistics or on a delivery guy, and what she had to do is restrict the areas. So before now, the problem was you can't even get the fuel, or you have to stay on long queues. So she had to restrict the areas that she was delivering to. So maybe very, very close, so that you don't get stranded on the road.
Yeah.
But she's also saying that she has slightly increased her prices, but that it's too early to tell if customers, because one of the things I was asking was, so how, let's say Uber increases their price, customers say, "Oh, this is too much. Can we actually pay it?" And then Uber's now maybe there's this back and forth. You won't have it with Uber, but with a small business that does this, if I discover that the cost of delivery goes from 1.5 to maybe 3,000, I'm going to ask you why. And it could be a
delivering fridge.
Yeah, exactly. Like why is it expensive? And we know that Nigerians are very price sensitive people. So it's something that the big guys may not really face it a lot because let's think about it. If I'm Uber and I increase your price, who do you want to complain to? How many emails do you want to how many emails you want to send? But if I'm a business that maybe I sell food and you say you can't use me, immediately you cancel the order and you go, right? And then I probably don't even have a very large customer base. So over time it multiplies, and then these guys, I don't know, it's too early to say, but right now you can see that the cost of delivery is higher. And you are saying that may be easier. I mean, if they were using, what do you call it? If they were using bicycles, they may be able to get around
so Jumia Food uses bicycles.
Yes. But that now means they will have to do, I've seen a few. I think even Glovo
does.
A few. So problem now is they have to be,
it has to be hyper.
You can't do island to
I just got an idea.
Oh, you want to start a business?
No. Not even a business. Not a business idea, but don't even talk about it. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag.
But you can't do island to mainland for deliveries anymore. So it means it's going to be super hyper local, and they may have to do some reconfigurations on the back end to make it easier. Something else I'm now thinking about it. We've been hearing about electric vehicles or maybe
electric bikes.
Could this be something that accelerates their use just in that space?
That hyperlocal, because I'm not sure. Okay, to my knowledge, I'm not sure I've seen any long distance electric bikes yet in Nigeria.
No,
so maybe something that can move around Ikeja, something that can move from Ikeja to Bega tops. Maybe you might have some that might move like as far as Ibadan, but they're quite expensive, very expensive. So yeah, it's actually not a bad idea.